Hello, this is a recording I'm doing my final project for the Flatiron School's online web development program. This is my React-Redux project with a Rails API. My project is called Book Safari, building on the idea I had for my last project, which is called the Book Challenge. Basically, it's a CRUD application that allows the users who I intended it to be like elementary or middle school students to create a log of their reading. It was inspired by the 40 book challenge, but this is going to be a CRUD application that lets students create new book log entries where they'll talk about things like the book's genre, basic information about it, others like title, author, pages, something they learned from it, things of that nature. Another feature that this has is it will allow students to search for books if they're not sure like what books they might want to read. So it's basically a two-part one. The main part though is the actual book log, which I'll get to in just a moment. So this project of course differs mainly from the last one in that this uses React and Redux rather than just JavaScript. Sort of an added feature here, instead of just the CRUD application part, I decided to include a book search tool here. It's powered by Google Books API. And this is just a way of, as I said, if students need to have sort of a springboard for what books they want to look for, might want to read for if they're assigned to do, say, certain kinds of reading in school. Let's say they want to do biography, so they can enter that as a search term. And what we'll do is, of course, they're allowed to enter the number of search results they want returned. Of course, one, no more than 50. And also the starting point, like, let's say they do 50, but they want to do another 50 more in that same category. They could start at, say, 51, but just shows what it does. It brings up a list of things like a thumbnail picture of the book cover. They can bring up some details about it, like tells them how many pages, who the author or authors were, and then some information about the book, maybe a little summary of what it is. Okay. And by the way, it is sort of a safeguard. I came across something called Toastify. It brings up, say, error messages like, of course, they're only allowed to do 50 entries at a time. Let's say if they try to do more, they're going to say, "Ooh, max results must be between one." Ooh, I got to correct that. It's actually 1 in 50. I got to change that. But it does bring up something there if they enter wrong numbers. But this is just a little added feature if they need to get a starting point. But the main part, as I said earlier, is the book log itself. Again, the CRUD application. So what students will be able to do is create a reading log. They'll add entries like, and I'm thinking about changing this out, by the way. This project is still somewhat in the rough. I haven't quite worked out all the kinks with a few things like I'll demonstrate in a moment. I may make this form here as a modal box they can bring up because it does take up a huge chunk of the page as it is. But for the sake of simplicity right now, I'm just leaving it as it is. And say read a book. Put in the information that's asked for. Let's say they finished this sometime last month. I just finished putting in some information. Just for demonstration purposes right now. And hit add log entry, and down below, okay, and there's our new entry then. pigs in space. Just by the way, and I did this with my last project, a little joke there. That was a reference to a skit that used to be done on the Muppet Show years ago. Let's see, has their information. These are some other just dummy entries I made all for demonstration. Now, this being a CRUD application, so we've created them, we fetched them, we can read them. Let's say we want to edit something here. Now, I had a bit of an issue where, and I'm going to see about getting this part straightened out soon, but if I hit edit, for some reason it shows a sort of a duplicate here of the entry. And I've designed it so that each one of these lines becomes an input field if you want to edit. So let's say I was like, oh no, this actually is 150 pages. It's 180 pages. Let's change that. Or just change something, update. And again, it's kind of doing a triplicate here. I'm not sure why. Now, if I refresh the page, it does take care of the problem. There's just the one entry, and it includes the edits that I made, so no problem there. But let's say I want to, so a couple things I'm still trying to work out the code, figure out why it's doing those little quirks there. But for right now, just to create the video, and let's say I want to delete this, so I'll hit delete. Now I'm getting this error message again. I've been through my code. I can't figure out why it's doing this. It seems to, at first, well, I thought that it wasn't deleting things, but then I refresh the page, and yep, it has deleted the entry. So I am able to edit them. I am able to delete them. Please disregard the little hiccups there. I'm trying to work that out. But basically, that's my project so far. So using some of the code here, just showing, trying to make sure to cover all the bases for the project. Okay, so it's importing various features from React Bootstrap. I rely heavily on React Bootstrap for some of the styling, by the way. And I don't know what is up with the how things are laid out, the code here, but anyways, I'll just discard that. But I'm using things like the routers, the fragments, switch, and so forth. So that is my CRUD app using React and Redux Book Safari.